Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, I'm out here on a rare Tuesday flight. That's because I was unable to make it up on my normal Monday, but that doesn't mean that we didn't see a lot of very interesting things. Now, I'm kind of a little bit bummed that I did not make it up yesterday because there was a pretty significant event, and that is a big jump in production of Cybercabs coming off that production line happened yesterday. And as you can tell, today we're seeing some of the fruits of that effort. There's about 14 or 15 Cybercabs that are parked out in front of that main entrance or exit point from the production site of the factory. And this is along that kind of painted line, that exit path that the Cybercabs will use when they exit the factory. And in addition to all of these over at that exit point and the production site, over at the end of line, it was also busy. I saw two of the Cybercabs parked over at the end of line. I also saw several that were driving that path from that exit point from the factory all the way over to the end of line, continuing to test out all of those processes that'll be needed once the entire production goes online. And in addition to even those up at the crash test facility, I saw 9 more new Cybercabs that have been set up for crash testing. You can tell that by the pull straps on the front bumper in the license plate area. But altogether, today is the biggest number I've ever seen all at one time today. We're looking at somewhere around 25 to 30 Cybercabs here at Giga-Texas, which is really great to see. Now, another thing that I want to talk about with the Cybercab is up at the north end of the paint shop, some deliveries have been made. And what you see here are what are either forms or bucks that are used to do the dimensional testing of the panels after the thermoplastic injection molding process takes place. And this is just to ensure that all of the panels continue to have that dimension in case of shrinkage during the process. And they're delivered up here at the north part of the paint shop for right now. Some people ask, why are they wrapped in plastic? Why are they outside? And I think it's just because they've been just recently delivered and they're getting ready to start using them. So another really great indicator that Cybercab production is coming online. The last thing I want to mention for the intro, and there is a lot to see in the flight, so we'll get into that momentarily, but as you can see, I'm wearing the Chattanooga Charge shirt. This event is coming up in about a little more than 2 weeks over in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And this event I was at last year. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great people coming out to see some of the displays, some of the demonstrations, doing some off-road driving in Cybertrucks. Had a lot of event for kids and of course a big light show as well. So I'm really looking forward to that coming up, and there are still tickets available. So if you want to go to the link, it's on the bottom of the screen and in the video description, you can still sign up, and I hope to see you there. So without further ado, let's get the drone in the air. Let's fly around and see what Giga-Texas looks like on this pretty windy Tuesday morning and getting into the afternoon.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from a very windy and busy Giga-Texas. You saw all the transport trucks loaded up with vehicles handing off site. You see there's a lot of work here at Cortex 2 and the electrical switch yard, but first we're going to go up to the north and just check in what is going on in this new development part of the site. Now, coming into view at the bottom left is that mobile, now permanent batch plant that makes concrete. You see the materials in various of the bins. On the left, you see those kind of tankers. Those are pigs that bring in the cement that is part of the process, and then the mixers. On this side, we can tell where some of the landscaping workshops and materials are, and where they've moved some of the operations for the rental equipment lot, and some additional work just to the north. As I pan the drone through the early morning sunrise and over towards this large field, we can tell some of the work that is just continuing to get all of this dirt cleaned up, remove all of the wood debris that has been mixed in over a long time into the soil, and prepare this for construction. And this is what it looked like this morning. All those piles of dirt are the cleaned up material. Then they're also taking away all of the wood. And some of that is actually being relocated to other parts of the site now. On the top of the screen in that depression, you can see 3 dirt roads. They're starting to work there. And at the bottom of the screen, more of this dirt on top of the linear hills continues to show where eventually we're going to see more of construction being done to prepare this entire site. Of course, part of that process is breaking up and removing all of this concrete debris that's in this area. That's what this crushing operation is doing. You can see the very large hill on the left, some more debris here on the north, and then on this lone tree field, the remnants of that rental equipment lot. And they continue to move more and more of that equipment and the rest of the materials away here so that this can be developed as well. On the far right of the screen coming into view is a housing complex, also some debris on that far southeast corner. That's where the river road is going to come through down at the bottom of the screen through the trees and along this part of this pond. And the work that you see going on is to prepare for that river road extension that will connect from this part of the site all along the east side down to the southeast and then the south part of the factory. So as you can tell, more of the debris is being cleared out here and work to flatten out much of these hills, all of which are remains of the old sand and gravel mining operation that used to happen here. Here's a great view of more of the concrete removal process, the operation at the bottom of the screen, and how much more of the debris here has been cleaned up. The crews are continuing to work on getting all the materials, bringing it up for that crushing operation. I also noticed that this field at the bottom of the screen has had a lot of dirt brought in and has now been flattened out. More dirt at the bottom of the screen here next to the transformers that are waiting to be installed at Cortex 2. I also noticed the first of several large gatherings of Cybercabs here at the site today. At the north end of the crash testing, you can tell that there are 9 of them arranged here with the tow straps on the front bumper right around where the license plate is. That is to hook up to the electrical equipment that pulls via a cable the vehicles towards the crash testing devices, whether it's a wall or if it's a rollover test. And that all happens within this rounded top structure. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can tell all of the vehicles that have been crash tested, and almost all of those are Cybercabs. And at the south end, the new building that is going to be for the crash dummy laboratory, or also known as the anthropomorphic test device laboratory, is coming together. Roof insulation, the double roof panels, and on that side facing the cathode building, 2 windows and a large door. As I kind of maneuver on this part of the site, it's a great view up to the north where we started. All of the earthwork that is being done on the right center of the screen to prepare for River Road extension. At the bottom of the screen, more of the dirt that has been piled up here for that construction process. And as I pan further to the south, you see the main factory in the background. The small structures that you see, the center and bottom of the screen, I'll kind of maneuver here, are being prepared for demolition. In fact, the slab is now being broken up, as you can tell.
So I expect to see this moved and this large hill as well, cleaned up of the debris and removal of the dirt, because that's where River Road will go through. Speaking of which, as we look across this part of the site, tell more of the dirt's been brought in, preparing the grade, and at the top of the screen where River Road is coming right now, and that will wind its way through this entire section. So some of these workshops, containers, and materials at the bottom of the screen are going to have to be relocated pretty soon. The workshops for the pipes and the manifolds for the cooling system continued their operation, and what we see here is the recycling center for Giga-Texas. At the bottom of the screen, that red device is the scale, and also more materials and workshops around this area. A great view of the work that's being done to do the extension on the left hand side of the screen. As I zoom in, close view of this intersection, you can actually tell where Robotic Avenue, the 2 lanes are being extended to the south to have that intersection with Robotic Avenue. As I zoom back out, more of the work in the clearing on the left, which may end up having to be a wet pond for the drainage system. I'm going to just pan around here for a moment. We'll come back for a closer view of that material staging yard and also the parking lot. I wanted to take advantage of where we were at, to fly along Robotic Avenue to the north, show you the work of the berm at the bottom center of the screen, where they've been putting in that wastewater diversion pipe system that extends all the way up through this area to Cortex 2. And also at the bottom of the center of the screen, you see all the vehicles parked. This is where many of the contractor vehicles that used to be parked in the far southwest have been moved for construction, which we will see later. This is a great overall view of the complex here, of all these structures. The Saren's crane is up and vertical again next to the Megapacks, so that operation is underway. And at the bottom of the screen, they are filling in some of the dirt in this depression. A good view of the work with this manifold that extends out the south wall over to the temporary cooling system. And I believe that there are now 17 of these cooling units on trailers that are being hooked up onto the system. Addition to that, part 1 of the 2 parts of the cooling system are getting the preparation for the 5th and 6th fan enclosures and fans on the roof. All of the FRP beams are in place, and they're starting to put exterior decking. The part 2 is coming along, as you can see in the center left of the screen. All the concrete is there. We're just waiting for that work to continue. And I think that this is lower priority as they get part 1 with those temporary cooling systems installed. Here's a closer look at some of the trench boxes and trenching that is being done here on this side of the site. See some gravel mixes being put onto the pipes to keep them from floating, and some additional work that is underway. We see these purple vertical pipes at the bottom of the screen at this part of the site, and those will be connected a little bit later into more of the site that has already had some of the pipes installed. And here's a great overall view from the northeast looking at Cortex 2. Through the big doorway, we see a large spool of cabling, so that work is underway. There's some deliveries of what appear to be cabinetry on 2 yard trucks, which is a great sign as well. And this is a delivery of the cable trays that'll be used to connect the electrical equipment and megapacks that are being put into this section, where you see the screw type piers being installed, platforms as well, and that will take the wires over the parapet wall and into the building, much like what we see coming into view here. And as I mentioned, the Saren cranes is fully up and ready to most likely be relocated so that they can begin putting in more of the megapacks and maybe some more electrical equipment farther to the north. But as I pirouette around here, those cable trays over the parapet wall going into the building, and how this installation appears now, and that will be duplicated at that opening on the north side where all the piers are being placed. There is some big developments going on at the electrical switchyard that I want to show you. Flew past the 2 biggest ones to start here at the north. Just want to show you more steel erection is beginning on this part. All of the footings are completed in slabs, and here they're preparing to install another A-frame, and that is what all those pipe-like segments on the ground are. Speaking of which, the A-frame here has been erected over the last couple of days, and as I was flying, we were fortunate enough to see the 3rd large transformer has been delivered. You can really get a good sense of the weight of it on that humongous trailer that it's on. And what the crews are doing is that they're preparing to slide it on those kind of rails over onto the slab. And that work should be completed later today. Once that is done, all 3 of the new transformers will have added more capacity into the original 3, as you can tell. Of course, more of the electrical equipment on the ground waiting for installation. The vaults are mostly completed, and that connecting tunnel. Here we see crews doing more cable pulls through the conduit. And in this section, the crane is down today. I can get a little bit closer, show you the white wrapped items, which are heating and ventilation systems for the roof of Cortex 2. And I still am watching all of these smaller packages, which are the false floors for inside Cortex 2, and those have not been installed yet. So we'll be waiting for a little bit longer until we see the electrical cabinets starting to arrive. So I'm going to fly directly over the east parking lot to the south towards the large parking garage and revisit this staging yard at a little bit lower altitude and closer in. Good view overall of what it looks like. On the right-hand side of the screen is that wind tunnel, and most of the trench work to bring in the electrical cable and conduit to power the wind tunnel and some of the trailers appears to be completed all around the perimeter of this parking lot. Many of the vehicles here are still waiting for their movement. The inventory is changing out, but they do replenish to some degree. And from what I understanding is that these may be used for either overflow or maybe for future direct deliveries to customers. It's hard to tell for sure. This is another look at some more of the materials being stored here next to the pond. And as I look across the pond, the work along River Road, some of the installation of that wastewater pipe through this section, and a zoomed in view of what is going on near the intersection here. I did notice that the Cybertrucks are bringing those racks with castings, and this is where they enter into the building for production. Also some Conestoga or accordion trucks delivering more equipment. The big news, of course, is this shot here. This is the exit point from the production line for the Cybercabs. Yesterday, they did a kind of a large jump in production as part of the preparation for the April production. Now they're up to probably a few dozen per day. Here are 14, and this is in addition to the 9 that we saw up at the crash testing facility, and we will see even more of these over at the end of line. But this gives us a hint at how the operations may go as well, with the vehicles parked in those lots and then the driving lane for them to exit and then proceed around the south to the south bridge and then north to the end of line. Notice that they are hooking up pipes to those temporary coolers next to the platform in that shot we just passed, and then coming up to the secondary main entrance. Most of the construction near the entrance appears to be done, although some of the glass and the doors needs to be reinstalled. More deliveries to the receiving doors as we pass further to the north. Crates and what looks to be red platforms on the wall, on the ground near the wall. And then, of course, many more castings here on the ground. Now, one of the things you may find interesting is that many of the castings here are Model Ys and Cybertrucks. And you may wonder what's going to happen with the Cybercabs when the line is fully operational. They actually have an internal process to move the Cybercab castings directly from casting through the factory to the beginning of the production line of that unboxed process. And that's going to help a lot with the inventory management and just the space required for all of the castings. As we kind of maneuver here around the north end, one of the things that caught my eye is right here. And we talked about this in the intro, but I will zoom in a little bit more. These are forms, also known as bucks. They're used for kind of measuring the completed parts to make sure that during the process of the plastic injection molding, the thermal plastic injection molding process, that when the parts come out, that they have something to compare it to make sure that the dimensions are proper. And you can see almost every single one of the body panels for the Cybercab there, except for the 2 cant rails that go around the sides of the upper part of the vehicle. It also looks like these crates are where those parts are being shipped in from and then unpacked here. The other thing I noticed on this north side at the 4680s is that more equipment is being delivered next to these 2 tanks. And here is one of those Conestoga or accordion trucks unloading right now, and a good shot of what some of this equipment looks like. So I'm going to prepare to fly around the northwest corner of the factory, and we'll take a look at what's going on with the cell production recycling area. And we know that they have had success with the dry electrode process for both the anode and the cathode. And with these bins and the recycled cans for the 4680s, kind of tells me that they are still working on getting those ramped up. But from what I understand is that batteries are no longer a limiting factor. And with that breakthrough, it's really helping them make a lot more. So those are great signs. The crane has been removed from this platform, as you can tell. So maybe no new equipment being brought in for the near future. And then on this berm, you can see where the bottom of the screen next to those yellow fences, it looks like the connections have been made now. I wanted to stop at the exit point for the Model Y, show you that it is very active today. One vehicle just left. We're going to see another one exiting here. And there'll be a quick transition of the screen. That's because I took a photo right about here. And then when I resume the video, you'll see that that car is gone, but another white one is departing the ramp. And again, all of these are driving autonomously out of the factory over to the end of line for further processing. And just the number of vehicles I saw over there in the outbound lot shows that production is really moving along quite strongly for the Model Ys. As for the Cybertrucks, we know that the demand, especially with that $59,990 10-day special standard all-wheel drive promotion, was really well received. They have more than a year's worth of orders, and because of that, they are starting to gear up for that production process. They are doing some hiring. They're getting the suppliers lined up, and I would expect to see production sometime in April, picking up big time to begin deliveries to customers sometime in June. As we fly over the Cyber Pond, I'll show you where we are. The fork in the road is the bottom of the screen. All of the work, materials, cleanup on the south side of River Road here is complete after putting in some of the water lines and caissons. And of course here, the same story. The caisson is completely buried. The large vault that's very deep is right at ground level, and pretty much all the rest of the trench work has been filled in. And I'll kind of maneuver around with a great shot of the south end of the factory. And overall, on this side of the site, most of that water system upgrades and additions, that seems like that work is completed. So what I'm going to do is fly up over the power lines. I'm going to turn back towards the east, show you the Colorado River, and just to the south, work that's being done here next to Falwell Lane, putting in what looks to be more of these pipes. You can see some of them on the right, and some of the excavation and other materials here next to the bottom left of the screen. And this work continues all the way over to the bridge, and then I will resume on the other side of the bridge and show you where some of this connection is being done, or at least related systems. This is part of a site that is expanding as far as apartments and also industrial complexes. And this work is to allow for that continued expansion. As I turn back towards the main factory, you can see on the bottom right corner is where another caisson was put in. Now they're doing some landscaping. Great shot of the Colorado River, and also just south side of what is the West Support Facility, this entire part of Giga-Texas with the warehouse on wheels, all the material staging yards. And the biggest area of change is this lot. Now, originally it was built as a logistics lot. You can see the risers coming out of the ground for the light poles. And then it was turned into a staging yard, which we can see here with a lot of the materials in the center and the right-hand side of the screen. And then all that's been cleaned up, and they are preparing for new construction. You can see the construction fence here kind of cutting the lot into half. And on the left-hand side of the screen, earthwork is now underway, kind of removing some of the gravel. And it's hard to tell for sure, but they may be getting rid of some of those electrical conduit risers that have been sticking up through the ground here. And that may be consistent with what I'm being told, is that this is being prepared for a test track. Now, what's interesting is you can see some of the earthwork right now. It's hard to tell for sure, but it looks like it's almost a giant oval. You can see that mark up in the upper left, around the center, and over to the right. This may be just because they're doing land work or earthwork, but we can also see that they're filling in more of the ponds at the bottom center. And as I turn back, there's a good view of the rest of the site, back to that fence and how much area there is. So we'll continue to monitor this and see what's happening with that track and how that may be developing. So now I'll just give you a view of all of the materials here, the supercharger workshop, some of the blue pipes for cooling system testing, and all the white transformers being stored here, along with more of the spools of cabling and other equipment, to this new extension for the staging. All of these concrete items and the steel corrugated pipes and the black pipes have been relocated from that farther south side for that new construction area. Also tell where this road will eventually go further to the south along this intersection on the left. As I kind of maneuver around here, I'll show you the outbound lot. All of the vehicles at the bottom center of the screen are employees. That's where their vehicles are parked for working. The ones on the left are vehicles that are being set aside for customer deliveries. Of course, this is the active part of the outbound lot. All of these are new vehicles being loaded up for transport off-site. And I saw a lot of transport trucks loaded up leaving today during my flight. And so it seemed like that was quite active. As I kind of maneuver around here, we can see that there is a Cybercab supercharging along with other vehicles, and another Model Y going over the rumble strips heading up here towards the north. Now, when I got here, I noticed that there were a couple of Cybercabs. At first, I did a video and then I came back. One of them had departed, but here's the first one. I'm going to splice in the original, or the first part of that video that I took, showing you the two that are here. And you can tell that these are much more refined than what we've been seeing around on the roads. These are production models, and you can see that they have the wheel covers on them as well. And these are part of ones that are being used for testing around the site, also testing the drive path from the exit point of the factory all the way over to the end of line here for final processing. And you can see how this works with the Model Y that arrived autonomously. The vehicles are checked out, and then the employees will send it further autonomously over to the north end of the end of line for processing. So I'm going to pull up to the north a little bit, pan around this ground area, which continues to see more racking systems for the castings. Also some more dollies on the bottom right for bodies of vehicles and the steel items being stored, along with these items and containers on the older material staging yard. And as we continue to fly along the road, you can see some of the workshops on the left, some of the materials for the Evapco units on the left as well. More steel that is being stored here, and much of this is being used inside the factory as needed to add in more floors as they build out more production capabilities. And of course, this is the new location of all the rental equipment that used to be located on that far northeast of the battery cathode, that Lone Tree field, which is now being prepared for future construction. So that'll be it for this very windy day, but also another milestone day with production of Cybercabs taking another leap forward. And we are just about 28 days away from the official volume production of Cybercabs. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.